Now, how many of us have been working so hard for so long how to get rid of negative, unwanted thoughts? It's almost hopeless to do that and stop this constant chemical, electrical chatter that goes on constantly in our brain. But by entering through this portal, through this pathway into this realm, you can attain what it is to let go of unwanted thoughts that are no longer serving you and keeping you from the peace that is your birthright and your inheritance.
Hello and welcome. My name's Campbell. This is Autodidactic, and we are back for our fourth chat with David from Soma Energetics. And today we're going to get into the Fibonacci tuning forks. Of course, check out all the links below of our other chats. How are you, David? Nice to have a chat again.
So good to be with you again. How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Early in the morning for you, and it's 11 o'clock for me, so a bit of a late night rendezvous.
Right.
So let's just jump straight into it. We've been through the other kits and the other forks. So the Fibonacci, what are these about?
All right, here we go. Well, Fibonacci is a sequence of numbers based on ratios that we believe is the main fundamental proportions of how the universe formed itself. I was just thinking before we came on, if I wanted to make something like a cake or some dish, and I had a recipe, and the recipe would say, okay, you need 1 cup of this, you need 2/3 a cup of this, you need a pinch of that, you need an ounce of that. If I follow those proportions, I'll end up with the cake. If I just say and pray, okay, just happen, it's not going to happen at certain proportions for it to take shape. So nothing would have taken shape without some kind of a mathematical or what we call sacred geometry system. So as we're entering this time that we're trying to find ways out of this simulated matrix that we have been caught in called 3D, I think one of the best ways to do is to open up these pathways through pure vibration and frequency. So that's what I want to talk about today. How can we get out of this thing is through opening these gateways or portals by using proportions. So let's just kind of dive in here. I'd like to start out with Pythagoras. Most people out there have probably heard of Pythagoras. If they've not, it's a Greek philosopher who lived at the time of Buddha and Confucius. So that's probably 2,700 years ago or so. And he was an interesting guy. He was a musician and a mathematic expert. And he had this idea, which I think is so amazing at the time that he lived in, that he came to the conclusion that the universe was a singing universe. That's what he said, a singing universe. And he termed that the music of the spheres. So, and he would use an ancient instrument called the lyre to create proportions of music, because if everything's spinning, it's making a sound. I used to carry with me a little hose, and I'd take that hose and I'd do this.
Yeah.
Woo, woo, because it's going to pick up a sound as it begins to find that vortex. So sound is a fundamental way in which we can restructure or reshape our world. And I think we're all wanting to do that right now. I'm not sure that we know exactly how to do it until we get the recipe. So today we kind of offer you a good recipe so that we can change and how to get out of this place we're in right now. I don't even know what to call it. We're in a place of chaos and breakdown. And how can we do that? Yeah. So kind of what do you feel about that?
So we're talking alternate realities almost, accessing different realms.
Absolutely we are, yeah.
Yep.
And I'm going to show you today that this idea of alternate realities, multi-dimensions, and densities are not some woo-woo new age thing anymore, but actually science is catching up with a lot of this that has been seen and put down. You know, most of what people put down, probably they're using it, they don't want anybody to know. I just heard recently how many presidents and governments use astrology, but yet they're against astrology because they don't want people to know they're using astrology to make these decisions. We feel that, like Bush, when he was president, used the spring equinox to enter into Kuwait, Iraq, and to do that. So they're all following this stuff that they say they're against, that's woo-woo. Want us to know because it would so empower us that we could change the world and not need them, right?
Indeed,
So this
yeah,
is a great time of such empowerment.
They say well, there's a saying, something like millionaires use advisors, but billionaires use astrologers.
So
Mm.
true. So true. So I wanted to share with you, I'm going to start with a little bit of science here so we can establish that really what we're saying is being quite proved today in areas and systems that are what I call more progressive. In other words, if they're not stuck in some paradigm where we're right and everybody else is wrong and we're not changing, but parts of science, not all science, parts of religion, not all religion, parts of education, not all, are very progressive and open to new information, which I believe is coming in from fifth dimension and breaking through third dimension. But there's something out there, and people might want to look it up. It's called the Blue Brain Project. And they are doing some wonderful work about the human brain. And of course, what I'm excited about is that they have found through using topology, which is a branch of mathematics that describes systems with a number of dimensions. And they have found that in the human brain, there are exactly 11 dimensions in the human brain. Now, we think of universes and multiverses and dimensions out there, but I'm telling you, as above, so below. As in the outer, so in the inner.
Wow.
So we have all these dimensions are not something we're trying to attain out there. It's in ourselves. And that's what we got to open up. And today we're going to show you how to open up and have access to those many dimensions that are in the human brain.
Dimensions. So is that like a doorway, or are these like things that we can access and literally there's a dimension in there? I mean, everything is inside, right? Everything's actually the reverse of what we think. Everything's happening inside us, right? The outside's just like a projection. Now, okay, wow, okay. I'm gonna have to. Was it Blue Box? Was it Project Blue Box? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. The outer world out here is like me looking in a mirror and seeing everything backwards.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to park my hair on the right. When I look in the mirror, it's left. Or even on the computer.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm on the computer so much and I think, okay, I need to be setting right and I move right, and that's the wrong way. And that's kind of what we're doing. We're going the wrong way because we don't understand reality. So that's why I loved one of your questions about what is the nature of reality. People need to understand a little bit about that. Let me just share something here that is so interesting. The brain continues to surprise us with magnificent complexity. Groundbreaking research that combines neuroscience with math tells us our brain creates neural structures with up to 11 dimensions when it possesses information. By dimensions, they mean abstract mathematical spaces, not other physical realms. Still, the researchers found a world that we have never imagined, says Henry Markham, director of the Brain Project, which he discovered. This is based in Switzerland, by the way, this whole thing. One more thing that I want to just give you that is so good. The appearance of high dimensional cavities when the brain is processing information means that the neurons in the network react to stimuli. Now, that's an important word because we're going to show you the stimuli can be a tuning fork. So using and sounding a tuning fork in a certain frequency or ratio can stimulate a change in the brain that matches a particular dimension in which we are matching information that is coming in.
Wow.
It is as if the brain reacts to stimulus by building, then raising a tower of multidimensional blocks. Dimension 1 is starting with rods, planks 2, then cubes 3D, and then more complex geometries with 4D, 5D. The progression of activity through the brain resembles a multidimensional sound castle that materializes out of the sand, and this disintegrates. Wow. Now, this is science I'm giving you. This is not New Age woo-woo. This is what science has discovered. Now, if you at all know of Barbara Henn-Klau's work on the dimensions, which is one of the best writers out there, I believe, to write about the 9 dimensions, that and she writes from the influence of the Palladians. The Palladians channel with her, and they've told her that even though we have 11 dimensions, we can only access 9 of those at this time. So that's an important issue. Anything on that you want to jump in?
A lot. Wow. Okay. Because I've done the course as well. If you grab these tuning forks of Fibonacci, there's a course that comes along with it, and in that you mentioned quantum jumping and Bert Goldman, and of course we have this narrative of mirrors. We've got our other selves, right? Other
Yes.
selves, like in other dimensions. So is this sort of what we're talking about? We can enter these different dimensions. We can learn skills because there's another one of us. Does that mean
Yes.
there's 11 of us and we're all somehow connected through these tunnels?
Well, and that's what's exciting, that we have this knowledge and information now that any one of us can use. That's what I love about all this is coming. It's not for the person in the box, the specialist, the person who's has the label, geneticist versus somebody that's some other thing. It is any of us now, because whatever information is out there we need is in us, every one of us, not somebody who is specialized. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the past, doctor, we've looked at the preacher, the minister, the rabbi, the priest, even the guru, and now we've got to realize that all of this just brought us to what was inside of us. So anyone can do this. They don't have to run to a spatial practitioner or somebody who's certified or has a degree on the wall, but anyone can do this on themselves who are ready to access these dimensions.
Yeah,
when we listen to Fibonacci tuners, one person describes it as like children going inside a seashell. If you pick up along the beach a seashell, it's curved and round, it spirals. Well, that is following the Fibonacci or golden mean ratios. And when you listen to that, you're actually hearing the sound of Fibonacci as it's represented in the spirals of the seashell. And I love the way they said it here, that when we are listening to that, we are like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, who's being transported by a cyclone to the land of Oz, or owls going down the rabbit hole to discover Wonderland. They discover realities within realities. Are we on?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's kind of a cool way to just kind of describe how that we can get to the place of Wonderland, Eden, bliss, happiness, oneness, unity is all in us. It's in the center of our being that we're going to call the still point. And the still point is actually what brings us to understand the golden mean ratio, which we could talk about at another time. Did you want to do that?
Yeah. So just a quick question. I mean, obviously all throughout history, we have all these stories of people getting messages, having visions, all this kind of stuff. And we have, seers and psychics and that. Do you think that this is what they're doing, that they're just naturally accessing these other dimensions?
I do think that people are doing it. I'm not sure that people always know how they got there, but maybe it was through some kind of meditation or some kind of sound or vibration. But now we're going to give you the way to do it so
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
can show
Because it's
everybody
always
can.
been put up there as like something outside of you that you can't control, and it's either God or someone's got a gift or something. But obviously, we can tune into it, right, with tuning forks and open those gateways ourselves. So how do we do that?
Right. We can. We're amazing beings if we tap into our potential and our innate intelligence, and
Yeah.
all these things that I call intelligent patterns of consciousness. We call it the mind of God, Christ consciousness. Call it what you will, but it is a part of us that is the innate part of ourselves that we have forgotten when we came into the density of our 3D dimension, and now we're beginning to remember a lot of what we have forgotten. Using this in the case of traumas and addictions, and people who are disassociate uh, into realities that are not so full of light, but are looking for ways out. The Fibonacci tuners create a bridge between these realities, which may promote a healing response. Now, Fibonacci tuning forks, when you sound them, are called something called sonic thoughts. They're not just vibration and abstract sound, but they carry ratios and patterns of absolutely divine or spiritual thoughts. They are in precise alignment with the universal energy field. So the source of the tuning forks awaken new neural pathways that lead one into higher power. Now, each interval of the Fibonacci tuning forks is a turn of the spiral that activates new realities and resonate with their frequencies. So what's exciting about this is they're beginning to work with people who are addicted to something, whatever it is they're addicted to, and they want to get out of it. And instead of years and years of psychotherapy or new medications to try to get you off of old medications, they're now learning how that they're opening up a way in which one can meet themselves at higher dimensions and frequencies that doesn't have the addiction.
Mm.
Now, that's exciting to me because I think where we're missing it is we think everything is linear. Everything is based upon, I don't have it, I need to get it, rather than we already have it. It's already built into us, into that created part of ourselves. We just have to know how to access it. And by using the Fibonacci's, we can begin to access these different levels or dimensions.
Yeah, yeah. I like the way that you said the word bridge. You know, we just build a bridge to it, and that way the information can flow right across to us. And this can be used for lots of things, kind of healing and answering questions, finding out the cause of stress or disease. So, yeah, very interesting stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. You got it. You got it. So let's talk about some of these very interesting and sacred ratios. Now, these are the forks in front of me. We have to have a fundamental one, which is the 1, 1, 1. But where we want to actually start with all of this is with the 0. You know, the 0 is relatively a new discovery. It goes back many years ago, but a lot of people did not take the 0 seriously as it being a number in itself, in its own right. It's the totality of itself. In other words, it doesn't need anything to make it what it is. It is contained within itself, a 0. And we call that a still point, a still point. And I think that we have to come to that place to still the ego mind, the 3D chatter that we're constantly bombarding us to get us distracted from the potentials and the levels that are in us. And so therefore, it's important that a person begin into a state of, as much as they can, of silence. And just as I believe that the 0 was not taken seriously as a valid part of mathematics itself, I also believe that people has not taken silence either very seriously. We think silence is nothing, but actually we know that silence is the most effective sound in the universe, is silence, because everything comes from silence. If I hold up a tuning fork right here, silence. If I disturb the silence, with the vibration, it makes a sound. So sound is disrupted silence. And remember the famous saying, be still and know? Well, that's what it's talking about. Come to the still place, know who you truly are, and then use consciousness to begin to use how to give us certain proportions that then can begin to open up gateways that we can begin to have full access to that. So the first fork that we have is called 1-1, which is called the beginning from which everything originates and everything returns. So everything came out of the field of zero of all possibility, and then the one, and then we want to eventually return back to the one again. So the one is always used in the creation of all Fibonacci intervals. So let's go to the next tuning fork, which is a proportion 1 to 2, which represents space. Now, if you want something new to come in, I call it breakthrough. See, we got breakdown going on, we got breakthrough going on. Same time. These are two things that's going on that is kind of giving us a time of complexity, let's say, but really there's simplicity in the complexity if we understand who we are and find that constant within ourselves. But at this time in which two things are happening, breakdown and breakthrough, death of an old age and systems of 3D, and the renewing and recreating of 5D, which we got to get through 4D, of course, then we begin to understand that we need space. That cannot happen until there's space. So by using the 1-2 fork here, you create an octave in music which opens the space for all possibilities. Opening new spaces balances ether element and helps relieve things as even grief or any loss that we have experienced in our past, and we're filled with the energy and frequency of new possibilities. So space, or what we call sacred space, within has to be created first of all.
Yeah.
Then when you go to the next one, and I'll go ahead and sound this one just to show you, this is a 2-3. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but this is it is the 1-1 with the 2-3 ratio, and this is for balance. This is considered a perfect fifth in music and works with the pituitary gland and autonomic nervous system to create an ideal balance between heaven, higher consciousness, and earth, lower consciousness. So we would say, kind of in spiritual terms, it brings heaven and earth together, or we might say it brings the brain and the heart together. The male and the female, the yin and the yang come together. Thousands of years under third dimensional living has set certain places that we center on. We center on certain aspects of what makes education, or science, or religion. And all of that is so changing and so shifting that people don't know where to land out there in the world, a world that's breaking down. Where is your center? What are you going to center on in these changing breakdown models? Well, in yourself. One thing that I have people repeat a lot as a mantra is I am the center of my power. I have people say that aloud. I am the center of my power. So right now, with all that's going on and the intensity of this 4D polarization that is going on, and this beginning to wake up, the fact that we have been caught into this simulated matrix of 3D and limited, which isn't working anymore, that we are finding a way in which that we can center ourselves during this time. And I really encourage people to do whatever it is. If it's not with our tuning forks and the Fibonacci, then find something that brings you into the balance that is in you, and you'll go through this with no great problems.
Yeah.
The next ratio that we go to is the 1-1 and the 3-5 ratio of the sixth in music, which is called mystic fire. And what I understand that this word mystic fire came from Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce called this the mystic fire. And it is the beginning of the ascent of consciousness known as the region of 1,000 lights. Wow. In this enhanced dreaming, visualization, and new ideas, or a way in which we can have access to astral projection.
Wow.
So that means that through the astral, finding the gateway through the astral, we can begin to literally travel through these different dimensions, even while we sleep. Sometimes, some of us can sleep if you're a good sleeper at all. Although I think that's all changing too. But if say you sleep a good 8 hours or 9 hours, but you wake up tired, what in the world are you tired about? I slept good, but have you slept out and been doing work in different dimensions through the astral body? This will help with that, which I think is very important and could do a lot of talking about at some point. Then we have the 5-8 ratio, which is called the inner voice. This leads consciousness deep into the third ventricle of the brain, called the cave of Brahma, where we make contact with our inner voice of wisdom and healing. Now, as far as a lack or deficiency of knowledge, we have none. Knowledge is coming at us so fast through the internet, through people who are writing more and more books and all of that. But what is lacking is the wisdom to use the knowledge. So by opening this particular dimension, we become the wise one. This is you. Now you mentioned quantum jumping.
Yes.
What is behind quantum jumping, to me, as I interpreted it, was that it's not this 3D self trying to get to other dimensions, but I'm already there. The self is in multi-dimensions, and we meet ourself at a different level or dimension. Now, for that, I use the visualization of being in an elevator and pushing a button to the next dimension or level. So it gave people a mental picture of how they could find themselves. So let's say a person has an illness, a disease or sickness, and they want to be healed. Rather than be healed at that level of the disease, let's go to the other dimension where they do not have the disease. You can't have cancer on higher diseases 5, 6, 7, and 8. Therefore, meet yourself without the disease. And just as I was talking about meeting yourself without the addiction, whatever it is you're trying to fix, all you have to do is retune yourself with a frequency to match yourself on a higher and better dimension of reality. So this is an important place, the inner voice, contact with our healer within, find helpful information, obtain wisdom and peace, and get this, and let go of unwanted thoughts. Now, how many of us have been working so hard for so long how to get rid of negative, unwanted thoughts? It's almost hopeless to do that and stop this constant chemical, electrical chatter that goes on constantly in our brain. But by entering through this portal, through this pathway into this realm, you can attain what it is to let go of unwanted thoughts that are no longer serving you and keeping you from the peace that is your birthright and your inheritance.
Nice. So we've basically been blocked off from all the answers, right? Like that's why they give us so much external stimulation, so that we don't spend time going within, and we don't really know what our true power is.
Bingo, bullseye. That's exactly it. It's about removing the blocks. It's not about we lack something, we need it. We just need to let the blocks go. We've been, where I am here in the United States, in Charlotte, North Carolina, we've had some unusually rainy, dark, cloudy days. And people came to my class yesterday and everybody was saying, oh, I almost didn't come. The sun's not out. And I said, oh, yes, it is. The sun has not changed at all. The sun is exactly where it is every day. We just have clouds that's blocking it. So we don't have to go and find the sun. We just remove the blockages and there it is. Well, there's also a bright light of truth in us. It's just been blocked off by a lot of limited thinking, wrong thinking. Oh my goodness, how every day we're proving that most of what we've been taught in most every system is just not correct for us. It's not present truth whatsoever. So you are absolutely right on that. Let's go to the next combination, which is the 1-1 with the 8-13. Now, all of these numbers that I'm giving you, 5, 8, 13, are all called Fibonacci numbers. You take the number and you add it to the last number. So, of course, 1 and 1. 1 and 2 makes 3. We get that. But now 2 and 3 makes 5. 3 and 5 makes 8. 8 and 5 makes 13. And there they go on there. You see how that is down at the bottom. So you just keep adding the last number with that. And that was discovered a long time ago and was a much better mathematical way of certain conclusions that was used by the gentleman who discovered that in Italy, which is called Fibonacci. He was nicknamed Fibonacci because he discovered this thing. So next is the 8-13, which is called the crystal door, or the magic mirror, which is 8-13 intervals, takes us to the source of inner voice, which appears beyond words as pure sound and light. Resolutions of light, dissonance through a clear tone, clarity visualizes through alignment with source and with deep sense of simplicity. So this is just kind of what it's like to feel like coming back to the essence of who you are. You know, we deal with who we think we are, the pseudo self, ego, whatever you want to call it, which is like pieces in the world, just like when you're playing a game on a computer and certain data is pulled together to make that game what it is. Well, that's what we are into now in this simulation, is that we have just pieces of data has come together based upon the agenda of those who are in power. In other words, those who are in power have an agenda: one, to divide and conquer, polarization, to fight one another, and secondly, to keep us from truly knowing who we are. So therefore, 3D is a time of identification through a label. So you got to get behind all of that to get to the essence of who you are and take that deep breath of, oh, I've arrived. I've arrived at the center of my identity of who I truly am in this moment. What a wonderful experience and release that is from so much baggage that we have carried through our even karmic stories. So the next one, real quickly, I want to get through these quickly. 1321 is the next fork with the 1-1 called the gateway. Now, the gateway is between the higher spiritual realities, the dreaming realms, lifting our consciousness across what seems to be an impossible leap. Now, that's important because I think people who are caught in their ego mind, and when I say ego mind, filtering their beliefs and truth through the 5 senses, it looks pretty hopeless right now. It looks like we're not going to fix this thing. It's getting worse every day. People are crazy. I don't know what else to use. They're just crazy, shooting each other, fighting each other, all that kind of stuff. But I want you to know there's a realm or dimension in you where we begin to feel the possibility that we have the empowerment to change our destiny. And we want to get to that place where it's not just a theorem, but it is a reality of an experience. And then lastly, 2134 is called the eye of God. The eye of God. This has to do with opening what I call the pituitary gland or pineal gland, both of them actually, but the pineal gland, which oversees all dualities and begins yet another turn of the spiral of something that has been labeled Jacob's ladder into greater spiritual insights and learning. This is where we create a way in which our inner truths, or I'm going to say our inner agreements and contracts, are activated. and that have been deeply coded into the shadow of our unconsciousness. This is where higher spiritual realms are illuminated and the simplicity of the complexity of reality is revealed. And you know what I think that is, Cambell, for me? Because I've spent decades, as you know, I'm not new at this. I've been a researcher almost coming out of the womb. I've been a person who wanted to know why and tried to understand even the religion I was born in. I had questions I couldn't answer. And I've been a seeker for a long time. And I've looked in the realm of philosophies, theologies, mental constructs, different belief systems. And I've never found what I was looking for the decades and decades that I was looking for somewhere that I could kind of land, until I found the two magic words, I am. And when I said I am and stopped attaching any kind of label to it, I knew I'd arrived home to myself. Now that is called the eye of God. Great inner truths are revealed, understood, higher spiritual realms are illuminated, and we begin to have that major aha moment of our life.
Wow.
So those are the different ways in which we use the Fibonacci tuners.
Cool. So this is more, like we said at the start, much more about, so I guess, exploring yourself in different realms and alternate selves, alternate realities, searching for answers, rather than the other ones are sort of we've looked at the chakra, tuning forks, and a few different other sets that are more to sort of tune our body in, get us back in tune. But this is more, the Fibonacci's are more to sort of explore and see how far we can go, as far as it sounds.
Very good. Very good. That's very well put. I totally in agreement with you. But by using these proportions, what they've learned, researchers are able to see that the higher degree of organization takes place. Now, that's what we need. There's a reason why every time there's a new age or we're moving from some astrological 25,000 year cycle or 2,500 year cycle, which a lot of those are coming on us right now. I think that's the intensity of the time that we're experiencing right now, is the fact that so many different cycles have all come together at the same time during this generation of people. And it's overwhelming unless we tune our frequencies to them so that they can bring understanding to us. So what we need right now is a time in which we can look at the breakdown of the old systems and how we want to proportion the new systems. And that's what Fibonacci is giving us, a way in which we make sure we don't reorganize from the old pattern that we just are moving out of and repeat history again.
Yeah.
But we want to evolve ourselves to the next level of creating new patterns to what it means to be who we are in the world that we basically live in.
Yeah.
So yes, what's ironic is I hated math. Growing up was the worst subject. I did very well in more right brain stuff, but left brain. And I did not know at that time I had something called a slight case of dyslexia. Well, actually, being dyslexic has been a spiritual blessing to me, because I think the world is backwards. So when I saw things backwards in the world, I was probably seeing more upright in my spiritual mind. And that has served me as a speaker and ministry for over 60 years, is I just read the Bible and I would see it totally differently. I'd see it backwardly and it would resonate with my spirit. And I'd say, oh, this is what this means at a spiritual level. So, things are not by accident. We're not going to just put these tuning forks out to you. There's going to be a really good course that is going to be available to you so that you can use these properly. And as I said, you don't have to have a specific class. You don't have to have a specific teacher. You just turn to the teacher that is within yourself. And we're going to give you a wonderful class we put together here not too long ago. We had a lot of wonderful, diverse people who came to take this class, and we have heard nothing but wonderful things that they're experiencing. So we're going to tell you a little bit about that course and how you can get that course. And Cambell, I want to thank you so much for opening your platform to us so that we can get this word out as much as we can. And I'd say to the listener out there, if you feel a little threatened by all this information and knowledge, even though I didn't do well with mathematical because I didn't learn this in school. I learned it maybe in a school in Atlantis or Myria, or maybe, I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe I did, because a lot of what I know today, I came in with. I didn't learn it after I got here, but I brought it in. And it's been certain levels of information that has awakened that part of me. This is why all of us that are speakers, ministers, lecturers, teachers need to be progressive with our teaching. Don't get stuck somewhere, but continue to evolve through the new information and knowledge, because as you raise your teaching, you will awaken new pathways in the people that you're teaching, and they'll begin to receive from higher dimensions of what's available as far as information to get us through this time. So, Tim, are you ready?
All right. Tim, how you going?
Hey, Cambell. Good to see you. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right. So Fibonacci, you can work with, you're kind of working with universal law, right? As David was kind of just talking about. And you can use these intervals even in simple things like your breathing. Breathe in 3 and out 5. So you can take these ratios and use them everywhere in your life when you have an opportunity to do so. So it's the course that you get is a 2-hour course. As you know, you've kind of explored it a little bit, I think. 2-hour course comes with a 22-page manual, goes deep into goes deeper into what David covered today. We have experiential exercises that you follow along with, etc. So when you use Fibonacci, folks, you start with the 0 point. So you first get still, just like he talked about, the importance of the still point. Then out of the still point comes the 1-1, which is the beginning. Okay, 1-1, that's the beginning, and then the remaining forks. I'm not going to do them all because he just kind of did that. The remaining forks, you always use 1-1 with it, and then you add the next fork. So 1-1 and 1-2 together, and those two create the interval of an octave, just like it said on the chart there. 1-1 and 1-2. Okay, so let me kind of explain the process as far as the brain goes. Then, so you're starting from a still point. You get quiet, and then a 1-1 just signals we're about to begin. It's the beginning. Okay, a 1-2 is space, so it's the entire space around the cranium. Okay, then as we go into 1-3, we start going inside the brain and creating a balance between left and right hemisphere, and at that point, we increase feelings of well-being, etc., balancing energy, etc. Okay. Then as we continue on with the 3-5, now we're at a 6th in music. We're starting to spiral deeper into the brain, and we reach into the region of 1,000 lights, which is the dream state.
Yeah.
Okay. Then as we go deeper into, so look at it like we start out with the cranium, we're just spiraling into the brain. Okay. And would be the inner voice. So at this point, we've entered the 3rd ventricle of the brain into the cave of Brahman. Okay. Then we keep going into the mystical passageway called the crystal door, where we get in touch with our inner voice. We're continuing to spiral in at 1321 to the gateway. And right there, you're sitting right below the pineal gland, the eye of God at that point. And if everything is balanced and you've done all your work, then you're initiate to go ahead and go into 2134, which is the eye of God, which takes you right into the pineal gland, which is the most spiritual gland in the body, right? It's the one that takes spiritual information, light information, and turns it into chemical, right? So that's kind of the spiral that the Fibonacci is taking you to through the brain to get to that point. Okay, so you can take the entire journey if you want, just like we just kind of described, or you can take the journey up to a point where you want to work. So let's say you want to contact your healer within. So you would just take the journey up to the inner voice, which is 5-8, which is the healer within. So take your journey to there and then stay there, because that's where you want to work at that level. Okay. So you can use these several different ways to take the journey into where you want to be. So yeah, this has been very well received, and so we just really appreciate the time to be able to share this with people and give them the opportunity to kind of see if it resonates with them, so to speak, and something that they would like to explore for themselves. But it is definitely a self-use, self-healing tool for you to be able to access these higher consciousness, etc.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to turn it back to you, David, and let you guys finish up.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Thank you. Wow. I just find it so fascinating that the way this is coming through is what appears to be the simplistic tuning fork, but remember, and I always say this, tuning forks don't have to be plugged into the grid.
Yes.
Now, they know everything we're doing, even right now, because we're on the net. We're connected to the global brain of technology, and everything we're doing and saying can be recorded. But with a tuning fork, you don't have that. They can't tune into what goes on with tuning forks because you're in total control of that. And I like that. I know that sounds a little old-fashioned, and maybe I'm showing my age, that I don't think everything has to be through technology. I think this is about inner technology, not outer technology, but we have inner technology within us. And I think using tuning forks is so powerful in that way. So for our listeners out there who are really looking for a way out of the simulation and want to get out of the matrix and want to get out under the control of the powers to be, because the powers to be know what's going on and they're very concerned. This is why they're acting up so much right now. It's almost like the last show of their strength of the control, because they know it's coming. And we're just looking to get the message out, at least right now, to enough of us is all it takes. About 1% of the population of the planet would all join together in an intention to reconstruct, redo the world itself, because the world we live in is not real anyway.
No.
The Eastern people were right when they called it illusion or Maya. It's just not real, no more than I don't do games on the computer, but I have a grandson that does. And we all have people that are so into this that they lose themselves in the game.
Yeah.
They are in the game. And I'm telling you, game over. The game of simulation is over. Let's come out of it and let's be who we are and who we were created to be. And when enough of us do that, we're going to cause a global major shift. I really believe that.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. You'll find the link below, and you'll get 10% off as well if you use the code AUTO. So go check out all the different products. There's a few different sets of tuning forks, but definitely if you're looking for questions, maybe for your inner healer, maybe what direction you're supposed to go in, or you just want to discover more of yourself, then grab the Fibonacci's and have a play and tune into the realms inside your mind. And it's interesting that we can get to 9, isn't it? Because they talk about the 9 levels and the 9th heaven and all this kind of stuff. Number 9's the God number, so it's all within us, guys. So we just got to get in there and learn how to access it. And we know everything is frequency, so seems like a good, quick, easy way to just tune in. So
absolutely,
yes. So thanks heaps for your time, Dave and Tim, if you're still out there in the back. Really enjoyed this one, and it's definitely given me a lot to think about. So I'm definitely going to be playing a lot more with my tuning forks.
I just want to say real quickly, I'm sitting here looking at pictures of sunflowers, DNA, a hurricane, a fetus unfolding in the womb, all follows the Fibonacci pattern.
Yep.
See, we've lost our alignment with how things were originally formed and created. And when we get back to that, we're going to be an enlightened, powerful people. We'll become the gods, little gods of the planet.
Yep, indeed. Our bodies are Fibonacci, all the old buildings. So yeah, it's time to
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
what we're supposed to be. Yeah.
All right. Well, an exciting time to be alive, right?
Sure is. I agree. Let's all tune in and rise up, I guess. Get into those other
Yeah, there
dimensions.
you go.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you heaps for your time. Really enjoyed that one. Have a good day out in the morning there for you. And no doubt we'll have another chat in the future sometime.
Thank you. Thank you, Campbell. We so appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, guys. Catch you next time.
Remember, in the end, nobody wins unless everybody wins.